Welcome everyone to the June 5th, 2019 meeting of the Bennington School District Board of Directors. It is 7:02. I'm Chris Murphy on the BSD board. I would just like to note this is our last regularly scheduled meeting of the Bennington School District Board of Directors ever, as we will go away at the end of this month to pave the way for the new Unified Elementary School District on July 1st. So thanks for being here, everyone. Agenda item number 1 is public comments. Open the floor, please. And Kathy Reed, if you would please tell us your name.
I will. Kathy Reed. I'm Kathy Reed. You can hear me okay?
I can. Yes.
Okay. I'm a teacher at Molly Stark Elementary School. And I just wanted to read something that I wrote for you so I didn't get all emotional and off track. Today is bittersweet for me. After 16 years in the SVSU, I have decided to take my career in a different path. I want to express my thoughts here today publicly, as I feel everyone needs to know. If anyone at the table would consider a one-on-one conversation, I would be more than open to sitting down. This forum is not the one I wish to air dirty laundry in. That in mind, something needs to be said. I began at Catamount, and I loved my time at Catamount Elementary and have missed it since the day it closed. I have also loved my time at Molly Stark, and while I am choosing to move on for both personal and professional reasons, I will carry the families and colleagues with me. I have been fortunate to have amazing experiences and opportunities within the SVSU and the Molly Stark community, ones that can only be appreciated if you live it as a teacher in the moment. I have met learners who taught me as much or more as I taught them. I have encountered families that I will remember for years to come. Many of the colleagues I have had are now part of my family. As you've not been there, you should know that Molly Stark has suffered this year. It has the ability to shine and thrive as it has in the past, and I hope with all my heart that it gets the leadership it deserves in the next year. You have done a disservice. While I appreciate and respect greatly the efforts our co-principals have put into this year, it was an impossible undertaking. People, adults and children got hurt, physically, emotionally, both adults and children, and learning was severely sacrificed. I am saddened and disgusted by the outcomes that this district and this board have deemed acceptable. After 16 years, this is unbelievably bad. The staff, families, and most importantly, the children deserved better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comments? Okay, moving on. We have our consent agenda as agenda item 2. Those include the minutes from the April 23rd and May 1st meetings. Are there any suggested changes to either of those sets of meetings, please?
Can we, and I hesitate because I know this was tricky at the SU meeting. Can we separate out the minutes, Jim's laughing, can we separate out the minutes from the consent agenda? I would like to approve the consent agenda. I wasn't at the floor meeting, okay, so I can't approve those minutes, but I can approve the minutes of the May meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just for the record, you can vote to approve minutes whether you're there or not, because you are a member of this board. So I know it seems to be this common thought that I wasn't there, so I can't approve it, but you're approving them. I mean, it's your prerogative to abstain from any vote,
right,
but it's not necessary for you to be there to approve them.
I feel like I'd be bearing witness to something I didn't witness. Does that make sense?
So, with the full acknowledgement that this might not completely jive with Robert's rules, I would entertain a motion to do what Jody's asking, to pull approval of the minutes off the consent agenda. Well, let me take that back. I was going to say and add it to the other agenda, but I know that we can't amend the regular agenda once we've embarked upon the regular agenda.
I mean, it does say I was absent. We could approve it just on
I
a
can hear
basis.
you down here.
Oh, sorry.
Just speak a little louder. Don't use that other teacher voice.
So, Jackie, I was not at the floor meeting for BSD, so I would like to approve everything on a consent, including the minutes of our April meeting, but I was not at the floor meeting for.
Can I ask you this? Is there anything you object to?
No, I don't. I
So
just
then
don't.
you can approve it.
Okay.
And I think because the minutes reflect the fact that you weren't there, an approval on your part of the consent agenda includes the acknowledgement that you weren't there for the floor meeting.
Okay.
Yeah?
I'm okay with that.
So any recommended changes to either set of minutes? So I do, for the May 1st BSD meeting on page 1, line 11, Beck Lenve's last name was misspelled. She was the Cat TV representative that evening. But it's my understanding Beck's last name is spelled Lendvay. But that was the only,
Richard, my name is misspelled on the absentee of the floor meeting, Jodie.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you, sir.
yeah,
all right, any other changes to recommend?
yeah, on page, the May 1 meetings, on page 2, line 28, it starts to be sent to the governor. That should be moved over to align with the main paragraph because it's not part of the bulleted item and it doesn't make sense unless you move it that.
Okay. Any other changes? All right, very good. So the rest of the consent agenda includes resignation letters from Tim Bluto, who's the BSD treasurer, and from Kathy Reed, who spoke earlier, and nominations for Bryn Dilworth as first grade teacher at Molly, Josh Ellis as second grade teacher at Molly, and Christopher Hartford as a music teacher to move between Monument and Molly. So hearing the changes made to the minutes and hearing the rest, could I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Jack Kelly. Could I have a second, please? I'll call that Merity. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And the consent agenda passes. Next up is the property transfer deed. Turkey, Jim, please.
I have a motion that needs to be read into the record for the quit claim deed. And once that is made, then I have some information that I can share with the board.
So could I please have a motion thus? A motion to authorize the conveyance of the Bennington Elementary, Molly Stark Elementary, Monument Elementary, and former Beach Street School properties to the Southwest Vermont Union Elementary School District by quit claim deed, and to authorize the Bennington School District Incorporated Board Chair to sign the quit claim deed, tax returns, permit transfer forms, and any other related closing documents. Thank you, Meredith. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Any discussion?
Yes.
Let's first let Superintendent Colkeen read the receipts.
So I have the quick claim deeds here that if the board authorizes this motion, the chair can sign. Some points I want to share with you that this is from the title search that came back. Our attorney tells us there are no title issues with Bennington Elementary School, but it should be noted that the entire property is located in a special flood zone hazard area. So that structure is under restraints that that additions to existing structures are limited. So that information that will go to the new board, the Union Elementary Board, and it's recommended that the town's building inspector, fire marshal inspect the building annually, as always happened. Molly Stark, again, there are no title issues with the property, but portions of the Molly Stark Elementary School property that is used as softball diamonds, tennis, or basketball courts, or the multi-use field, is encumbered by the requirements of 2 Land and Water Conservation Fund grants that were obtained in both 1979 and 1981 that funded the construction of these facilities, of those playgrounds. So the new Union Elementary District must continue to use a portion of the Molly Stark Elementary School property for recreational use in perpetuity. Again, the same recommendation about the inspections. Monument Elementary School, again, there are no title issues with this property, but there is a portion of Monument Elementary School property that is also encumbered under land and water conservation grants obtained in 1981, so that restriction will continue. And the SVSU offices, Beach Street, again, no title issues with this property, but a portion of the property, and now I understand why we have always been cutting the grass on the fields out back. A portion of the property used to be used as a playground. It's encumbered, and there's restrictions on that land that requires that it be maintained for recreational use. So those requirements will transfer to the new Union Elementary District, and shows that the playground equipment was moved to Catamount Elementary School in 1987, but that the land with the original playground on the SVSU property where that was located is to remain in recreational use.
Thank you for that. Jack Kelly.
Those were my questions.
Well, I'm glad we waited. Any further discussion on this? Okay, hearing none. We have a first and a second on the motion. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, and it passes. Next up, number 4, finance.
Richard, would you like what I just
Yes,
read?
please.
Yeah, thank you.
And the motion,
Next on to finance, and the first person on up is Mike Davey. He's going to share with us the EEI report.
Those of you who might not have been here at the time, Mike Davey was, and EEI was the contractor and engineer for the new ventilation, lighting, heating project at all 3 elementary schools.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of project savings here.
So again, Mike Davey with EEI, and thank you for having me back to give you an update on the project that was completed 2 summers ago. For those of you that weren't on the board at the time, prior to doing an energy performance contract that was passed in 2015, the district was using all oil heat at the time, all fluorescent lighting, and most of the buildings had steam heat. At the time, it was so hot that candy bars would melt overnight from the steam. We saw temperatures in the 80 degrees, especially at Bennington Elementary, and then Monument had a fairly old original heating system and poor insulation. And then Molly Stark had 3 separate heating plants over several different eras. So at the time, the energy usage was high, the thermal comfort was a lot of complaints, and it was all fluorescent lighting. So we, with board approval and then voter approval, did a performance contract that would reduce energy expenditures and improve the heating, ventilation, and lighting systems throughout the district. And we have a report on the results now that we're 2 years into the project. You have a handout with some of this information, I believe. Basically, the baseline energy cost at Bennington Elementary before we started was about $100,000 a year for heating and lighting, and now in 17 and 18 we're down to $62,000, and we improved further in 18 and 19 to be at $60,000. At Molly Stark, we were at $130,000, down to $65,000, and then $61,000 the following year. Monument went from $52,000 to $29,000 and then $26,000. So we've seen continued improvement in the energy usage of the building. And to the right hand is what the actual savings were in dollars for each of those years. Molly Stark, almost $70,000 in energy savings. Let me just jump back. The guaranteed energy savings amount, which is on the first page of this report, it was $107,841. The district savings in year 1 was $129,000. In year 2, we're almost up to $180,000 in energy savings. So we exceeded the expectations on savings, And I believe, not to speak for Jerry, but I think the thermal comfort and the lighting has been noticeable improvement. I know we, especially at Bennington Elementary, we were thanked numerous times for the improvements that were made. And one of the ways this has been achieved is through the second handout. We are doing analytics, which we're monitoring all the heating and ventilation rates throughout the district, and then providing a report back to the facilities department each month. So this is the May report of a report that we've generated every month since the project was implemented. And if you flip to page, let's see here. If you flip to page 6 of that report, this is an example of what we're monitoring. So this is looking at fans that are running at night. And these are the things that if you're not monitoring and providing feedback on, can sort of run out of control, because no one complains when it's cool in their office when they walk in, or they're up to temperature. But sometimes that's achieved by leaving things on all the time. So what we're doing is providing remote monitoring of the building, and then providing this information to the facility department every month, and then they can make adjustments to further improve it. So you might wonder, why did we save more year 2 versus year 1? It's because the facilities team has continued to take this information and improve it. And actually, because you have one controls company throughout the district, meaning the Bennington schools, I guess I'm a little confused at what district means, because I know that that's all changing. But for the 3 elementary schools, Mount Anthony High School and middle school, we're able to collect all the information for every heating, ventilation set point at all 3 schools, and then provide that to your facilities team. I'm not sure if the high school and the middle school have started using this report yet, but I know at the elementary school they've really dove in and found those savings helpful. Yep.
Did you have any input from the so-called near point users, and in fact the teachers in the classrooms?
Prior to the project, most definitely. And so Jerry will tell you, when we were walking through the buildings, the teachers weren't shy about grabbing, when they said, "What are you doing?" Heating, lighting, improvement. Look at my classroom, and they would drag me down and say, "This room is freezing by this window." And so that feedback was fairly automatic, but we certainly
Or noisy.
Yeah.
So yes, we definitely got feedback.
This year?
Not this year, no.
Last year?
No, it came through.
Just initially?
Yeah, it came through the facilities department, then to us.
So, because I've heard that several people said they couldn't control the temperature in their classrooms.
Well, the temperature, well, first of all, there's 2 things. One is the spaces don't have air conditioning, so there's only so much you can do. And then the control is controlled by the facilities department in general, and that there's not local control at the faculty level. Is pretty standard, other than maybe a 1 or 2 degree set point. So that is probably an accurate statement.
So in other words, if classroom teachers wanted it warmer or whatever,
well, so
they needed to contact Jerry.
Right. And on average, I don't know if it's policy, but there was set up that temperatures would be at 70 degrees during occupied times, and some people don't find that comfortable. But 70 was sort of a good average, and then it becomes perception. Some people are hot at 70, some people are cold at 70. But what we are monitoring, and what's the data is here, is spaces that are outside the norm. So if a space gets especially cold or especially hot, that is provided in the monthly data that we provide back. So, for example, if there was one person who said, "My room never gets hot," or "My room never gets cold," and one of the things we joke about is we say, "Oh, my room is freezing." Well, freezing is 32 degrees, and sometimes you walk into the space and it's 68, right? So it's human comfort and different opinions. But what we can provide is any trend of any room in any classroom. So if a teacher were to say, my room's always cold, we can show the board, whoever, 3 years worth of data of how that room has behaved.
So do each one of the classrooms, do they have individual thermostats that say, this is 70 degrees? They do. And what happens if the person in the room doesn't believe it?
That happens sometimes. And sometimes, to be honest with you, where the thermostat is on the wall could be
the
one
lowest
temperature.
spot
And
in
if
the
you're
room.
sitting next to a window that's drafty, you might legitimately feel cold and have a complaint. And it's just, there's not much to do other than moving a desk or something.
Or have two thermostats in the room?
Yeah, right.
One near the windows and one near the door.
Right. It's typical, you put it on, typical standard practice is one on an inside wall is typical.
Any other questions? Great, well, Mike, thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming up. I'm sorry you got stuck in traffic. It's real driving. The second item under finance was the treasurer's report, which was enclosed, which was the last prepared by Tim Bluto, so thanks to Tim for that work. And then we were offered a Vermont Reading Partners donation, and a letter for that. So the Vermont Reading Partners President Eleanor Murno sent a letter to Kirsty Scott Edwards, who helps to run the Partners in Reading, and reads, Vermont Reading Partners is pleased to provide the enclosed check for $1,000 as part of our Grant Programs Award. We are delighted to be able to support literacy in southwestern Vermont with grants that aid in helping schools and libraries create additional literacy resources or programs for their students or library members. So, I would entertain a motion to accept this donation of $1,000. We'll call that Meredith first and Sheila second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the $1,000 grant, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. And could I have an additional motion to empower the chair to write a letter of thank you? Thank you, Sheila. Could I have a second, please?
Second?
Thank you, Jody. Any discussion on this? Hearing none. All those in favor of empowering the chair to write a thank you letter, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Anyone against? Change it up a little bit. Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you very much. So moving on to the next agenda item, contracts. Superintendent Colby.
I'll take that one at a time. Teachers' contract. The tentative agreement was reached with the Teachers Association on April 10th, and we were notified this afternoon that the teachers union has ratified the contract. There were no language changes to the contract, only updated salary. That was by design. It's a one-year contract that will expire June 30th of 2020. This is to coincide with the changes in health insurance that are going from locally designed plans to a state designed plan that we will have to negotiate in the contract. So the plan was always to do a one-year contract, try and keep it pretty simple, no language changes, and we will be right back in negotiations in the fall. The salary grid, it's 3.5% new money, and let me explain that term. That is the step that a teacher would get plus any cost of living increase. So the total dollar amount for all the districts together was $664,000. So salary accounts for FY19 were $18.9 million. They're going to $19.6 million. So all teachers who were eligible to receive a step is valued about $1,500, $1,554 to be exact. So 229 of the 324 teachers, I'm talking all districts, are eligible for a step. 95 teachers are already on step 20. So they will receive a cost of living increase of 1.65. So it's that cost of living increase and the step that is costing all the districts 3.5% new money. With the elementary boards are going to be consolidated after July 1, we are preparing with our attorney and the NEA representative a memorandum of agreement that will be drafted and signed by both sides, because in the recognition clause of the contracts, it's the currently existing school districts, not the new Union Elementary District. So decided that the easiest resolution is to just do a memorandum of understanding that the Union Elementary District is the continuing district. The existing employment contract for each teacher will remain in effect until June 30th, 2020, which is an important thing to note because we cannot have any contracts that extend beyond 2020 right now with the consolidation coming in. So I would need a motion to, the teachers have ratified it, so you need to approve 3.5% new money for the teachers of the SVSU.
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Jayla. I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, which is to approve 3.5% new money for the teacher's contract, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes.
The ESP negotiations, that's your education support personnel. We reached a tentative agreement with them on May 2nd, and they have ratified their contract also. Again, no language changes, only an updated salary. Again, a one-year contract. Once again, 3.5% new money, inclusive of the steps plus cost of living. Total dollar amount for the education support personnel is $177,000. Went from $5,055,000 to $5,232,000. Anyone eligible for a step will receive it, but it's very different than how the teacher step grid works. It's not every year, it's year 1, 2, 3, 5, then not again a step to year 10, 15, and 20. So the cost of living because we're talking about a lower salary to begin with, the cost of living adjustment for them was 2.61 plus step if you are eligible. The same thing, we will do a memorandum of agreement on the recognition clause of their contract, and the existing contracts for each staff member will remain in effect to June 30th of 2020. So I ask again a motion to provide 3.5% new money for the ESP contract.
So moved. Second.
So for Jackie Kelly and Jayla Sikora, first and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, which is to approve an ESP contract for 1 year at 3.5% new money, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
I have a question, and kind of added on to this. What about the substitutes?
They're not part of any contract negotiation. The board can always vote to raise those rates. You did last year. We made an adjustment, if you remember, after we did a survey of surrounding schools. So that is always an option to do at any time. Okay. Non-union, non-represented employees, and that's everyone from secretaries. Though some in some of the school districts they are members of the ESP, in some districts they aren't. This is one of the consolidation issues. Jerry's personnel are not union, so they are not represented. So the board has to vote on what you would like to give them for an increase. After discussions with Human Resources and with Finance on what is in the budget and what the average raise would be, and I should note this is not the principals, because the principals are in a different contract, and their grid is drafted is connected to what a teacher top step is, and then there's increases from there. So not principals, but support staff that are not members of the union and the board of and the directors, not the board of directors. So the proposal after discussion with HR and Finance is a 3% cost of living increase, which is historically what you have gone in the past 2 years. BSD has done in the past 3 years. You say, well, one question you might have, well, 3.5% new money, Jim, you're giving to the others. Why are you giving the non-union people 3%? No one really got 3.5% new money. That's a step. That's part of a grid and then a cost of living. So on average, that's where we are. For most of the other employees, it was 3%. Some got less, some got more, depending on where you were climbing on the grid. So our recommendation would be to go with 3%.
So we have a motion to support what the Superintendent Colquhoun just outlined.
So moved.
Thank you. So Jayla and Dan, discussion, Meredith.
At the same time that we had done the grid, the raise for the paraprofessionals, I thought we did something similar for maintenance.
You had upgraded maintenance to mirror closer to what MAU maintenance workers who are unionized, to bring them to bring the base up closer. So
Didn't we just do that in this?
we adjusted the base, so they're now more than somewhat equal, but MAU will give, because they're unionized, they will get that increase. So then your non-represented employees would then fall back behind again.
So we're catching up.
You're remaining somewhat equal. Yeah.
Be caught up in our staying up.
Gotcha.
A couple other things, if you were wondering, BSD has 62 teachers and 6 ESPs in your employ. You have more that are in your building, but the special education employees, which are SU employees, which be interesting. MAU has 117 teachers and 50 ESPs. When we merge this new Union Elementary District, there'll be somewhere around 100 to 205 teachers in the elementary. So it's, from a board management perspective, it's going to be very close to what MAU has experienced as far as number of employees. And we could pass my notes to Richard so he doesn't have to, I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
Any further discussion on the non-represented employees contract? So hearing none. All those in favor of approving a 3% cost of living increase for the non-represented employees contract, please signify, or we need a motion. How about a motion for that? We did.
We
Thank you.
did.
That was our
Yeah.
conversation. Thank you for catching me up. Hearing no further discussion. All those in favor of the 3% increase, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, and that passes as well. Thank you for that. Moving on to committee reports, we'll turn to Dan or to Chayla for an SVSU.
Dan wasn't there, Jody and I were there, and Jody will.
No, go ahead, I'll catch up.
I wasn't too, I mean, the notes kind of signify the main crux of the meeting, but we approved Mr. Culkeen's contract moving forward, so that was the beginning part of the meeting, and then I think Jody has some notes.
And there was a heating fuel RFP awarded, and some new policies adopted, proficiency-based graduation requirement and tobacco prohibition they were both adopted, and as well as I just wanted to remind everyone that Wednesday, Mr. Culkeen announced that Wednesday, June 19th, still the half day, last day. That was an exciting announcement for some folks watching, listening. And a brief discussion about the future site of central office, more news to come on that. And June 11th budget vote was also mentioned at the meeting.
It's important. I think most people are going to forget that.
Yes.
June 11th is
Yes.
the budget vote for the new elementary school.
Great, thank you, Jody, thank you, Chayla. Moving on to educational matters, I understand we have a joint presentation by our building principals. Will you be projecting up behind us?
So as we are entering the month of June, it is with great pride as well as a little bittersweet sadness as our 5th grade group is starting to get ready to move up. And as well as we look forward to our work next year, we have had a tremendous amount of wonderful events happening at the schools this month. Last night at Molly Stark, we had Ready for Kindergarten Ice Cream Social. How does ice cream help you get ready for kindergarten? Well, here is how. It's a little hard to see. So we had a great turnout for our incoming kindergarten class for next year, and they came and made ice cream sundaes, got to know each other, got to know the building, got to know their teachers, and just had a really nice time. And we got to see our little learners, new learners, to come in action. And this tells you a little bit about literacy night, which was happening at the same time. They all went and crashed literacy night. So it was a really fun evening, and we had a great turnout, and it was great to see families in our school. At the same time, in addition to our literacy night, we also had Night at the Museum, which allowed our art teacher, Tessa McDonald, to really show off some of the student work from over the course of the year that they had collected. And yes, much better. Let's see. And Tessa did an amazing job presenting and showcasing the student work, and every learner in this school had a piece selected and curated as part of the event. So it is still up, so if you haven't seen it yet, I suggest that you come and see it. Oh, that one didn't print. This picture does not do this work justice. It's amazing. But Tessa did a beautiful job, and there was both three-dimensional as well as 2D works presented. And the children have had a great opportunity to show off their work as well as have their parents and families come and see their work as well. That one turned out nicely.
So of course we continue to connect with our community partners. It's really certainly an important part of our, that doesn't fit on there, but sorry. As well as what we do in-house. It's always about connecting with our community partners and being supported, and our learners love to have them come and visit, and we get to go and do things with them too. So here's our EMTs coming and showing us everything that they do to help support learners, and what they should do when they're in need of their support at home, and what number do we dial? And they all yell 911. And what do you need to know? You need to know how old you are. And if you know where you live, that's even better. So they were super. We're always connecting with our local police department. And the police department dogs, they were trained dogs, which were super. We just supported them today with the Special Olympics torch run, which was really so fun. All the schools got to cheer them on as they went by. That's a yearly affair. And then our schools all have literacy nights. So here's a couple pics from literacy night in one of our schools. And as you can see that middle picture, they were having a ball with shaving cream and writing words on the table and shaving cream. And on the left was, a poetry slam. And so we had a little cafe going on in the classroom, which was fun too. And the places we've gone, we are going so many places. Of course, the end of the year brings along some great experiences that align with our programming for students. There's just a few that are happening or have happened already in our schools. So the learners are just always excited to go different places. There's some of them getting ready and hanging out the window. You can't see it very well, but yes, and the bus is not moving. The bus driver gave them permission to hang out the window for a picture to begin with. But once they move, hands in. And then just some additional events that are going on. I think everyone is aware of the magnificent crowd concert that occurred at the high school this past Friday, which was put on by our music department across the SVSU in support of our Title I funding and support of Laura Boudreau and all that work that she does, which was great. Our BSD band chorus concerts, kindergarten graduation, 5th grade celebration. Bennington Elementary just had a business fair that toted some front page pics, which was awesome. Summer programming and kinder camp. And Principal Dunn's now going to finish up.
A little bit of a glitch in my getting slides on this show, so I'll do just an audio update. I think this year we did a much better job at Bennington Elementary. We're trying to use the whole name. In doing some outreach with parents and families, and each grade level hosted a student showcase, a different month for each grade level, invited families. There were presentations on reading, writing, science fair, and I think we're going to continue doing that and even add on some more. The business fair that you saw was absolutely fantastic. We're going to be losing Nikki Forrest maybe eventually, and so we'll have to make sure that we keep that going. Tomorrow night is our all-school chorus celebration, and we've added on what we call chat and choose with families come in and have lunch with the counselor and their children. They make an appointment through the guidance counselor, and that's been a great hit, as well as family lunches that are done each month, and families come in. So I think that our focus on family involvement will continue to grow, and I look forward to reporting back more next year.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for building principals? Please, Jackie.
I hope that next year you ask for extended time for field trips. I mean, leaving at 8 o'clock and having to come back at 1:30 is kind of tight. And so please ask the board for more time.
Recommendation.
It's all about the buses, always.
I know. But if you don't ask.
Thank you very much.
I have those keys.
If you have them, I'll take them. Thank you. Let me just pull up our agenda. Jerry, do you know how to put the lights back on? And would you please, if you do? Thank you. So agenda item 8, the superintendent's report. So Superintendent Culkeen.
I want to let you know that we have received word from the Agency of Education that on June 20th, the Agency of Education will release the Annual Snapshot, which is going to be, we're told, very different this year. It's a broad picture of each school's performance in achieving the Vermont's education quality standards. They're going to unveil it to administrators on the week of June 10th, and then the week of June 17th, there will be training at different locations throughout Vermont for administrators in dealing with this new data that will be seen in the snapshot. But the date that you all should be aware of is on June 20th at 5 p.m. The Agency of Education will release that live to the public. So,
Could you say that date again, please?
the 20th, 5 p.m. I want to, she's not here, but.
Sure.
Oh,
She went to get me some Benadryl because I am struggling with
all
everything
right,
right now.
or the EpiPen. All right, so
Or
I'll
the
hold
EpiPen.
off on that.
Sorry.
Jody mentioned it, but I'd like to reiterate the 19th is a half day of school, last day for students in all the elementary schools, but they'll be following the half day schedule. The 20th is the last day for staff. The floor meeting for the vote for the Union Elementary School District's budget is Monday the 10th, 5:30 Central Office. I hope you all could, well, you don't all have to attend because you're not all members of the Union Elementary District, but you're all welcome. It is a meeting open to the public, and then, again, was mentioned, I think, by Dan, very important that on the 11th, the public comes out and vote to support our budget. We don't have much time, and it's been a long road to get to this point. I'm running out of time, things to say things, but I'll wait for.
We can come back to you.
No, I was going to have something done, but I'll do it here. I just want to thank all the BSD board members at their historic last final meeting. So these are just a little memento. Go home and plant it. It's a little Hiroso as it blossoms, not to be too corny, but think of our students, that your work has helped them blossom. So there you go. And one for you.
Thank you.
It's not much, but thank you for your service on behalf of the students in Bennington.
Thank you very much.
Just a little reminder. I'm told they do really well with manure. Sold that. I don't know if there was similar, and I told her then what I was buying, who I was buying these for. How that works. Look at that. Oh, for heaven's sake. So thank you all.
Thank you. Great. Well, thank you very much.
If she gets back with the EpiPen, I'll do it again, but I want to thank Kate Abbott and Donna Collin for their double duty this year on behalf of the BSD board, students, superintendent. I know it was extremely difficult at times, but your professionalism has been noted, and I truly appreciate your efforts. I'll repeat that to Donna, but that concludes my report.
Very good. Thank you, Joe. In terms of the chair's report, I will keep it brief. I will reiterate the fact that we have a June 11th budget vote. In many ways, voting for this budget is just a reiteration of every community's support already. Every community approved a school budget in the March town meeting day. Because of the way that the merger has come together, it requires another vote of a sort of merged budget. So this is not necessarily new work. It's a little bit new. It's not entirely new work. It's really a simple reiteration of the support that people have already shown. So pretty pleased with sugar on top. Come out and vote in favor of that on June 11th. And just a word not only to our building principals, but also to all the staff in all the 3 elementary schools. Just thank you for another great year. I think as board members, when we're out and about in the community, whether it's at grocery stores or our kids' games or any of that, we're often stopped by parents, by teachers, by people who run up against the school system. And I know that, sure, there are some people who have complaints about this or that, but very often we hear good reports. We hear good reports from parents, from kids, from older students looking back on their BSD years. And I'm proud of the work that all of our teachers and staff and administrators have done. So just thank you very much for all of that hard work. And that's it for the chair's report.
Thank you, BSD.
That belongs in public comment, so we're not going to recognize that. And so one of our last agenda items are closing remarks for the board members. This was actually Merity's suggestion, and it's a great one. All but 2 of us will be serving, there are 2 of us who will be moving on to an elementary school district. The rest of us are not. So we'd just like to give an opportunity to everyone to say a few words if they choose, and we'll start in reverse seniority. And so we'll turn it over to you first.
I should have seen that one coming. So I was thinking about what to say, and on the same week that I'm seeing my former students, I mean, I've seen it before on social media, but this year it just really got to me. My really special group of kids was graduating and going to the prom, and it just was like, wow, like just a super special group of Bennington kids this year was graduating. And they're not my first group. I'm old enough to have former students graduating, but it played into these comments. So, Jim's handing roses out, and we're thinking about final comments here, so we'll try not to get misty-eyed. But I did want to thank voters for giving me this opportunity. This was just a really nice experience and a cool thing to try out as part of my professional career. It was really a nice experience, and it was a great opportunity, and I thank the voters for that. Residing here, living here means we love Bennington. We love this place, and we love this community. And we're all sitting here because we value education, and we love the schools. I love the schools, and I'm invested in our schools, and I've worked in the schools. And most of all, I will always cherish those little 1st and 2nd graders who are graduating, and their prom pictures are all over Facebook right now, and they're making me tear up. So, and now they're graduated. So I will continue to support these schools, whether that be teaching, whether that be future board roles, whatever that may be. I'm really invested in this town, in this community, in our education, in these schools. And Chris and Shayla, we just all wish you a lot of luck in your future role on this merged board. And I wanted to close with a wish list for you, and I was trying to think of good advice, and I thought, well, I'm not the expert on that. I should ask what people need. And so a few weeks ago, I started asking kids and parents and teachers kind of what they hoped this merged board would do for them, how they would serve. And so I have a few suggestions from those parties. And I think you can figure out who said what. You can visit my class. Come at recess. Come to school to see my work. It's hard. You should come to our carnival. So obviously the kids want you to know that. parents thought that they would like some opportunities for some input off camera. This isn't quite their style. And from all different buildings. They thought digital surveys to collect some input might be nice. They thought board faces at some, but not all school events would be nice. School equity came up. Same opportunities available to students, regardless of their street, of where they live. Teachers said, visit our classrooms. Let's come have conversation, check-ins, how's it going? Outreach to families. They think having some conversations with families would be helpful. And checking in with them, what's working, what's not working. And so that's some of my advice based on their little wish list that I put together for you. So best of luck. And as parents and people involved in school, I think you'll do a great job.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Dan, we'll get it to you.
All right, thank you very much. Like Jody, I'd like to thank the voters for giving me the opportunity to serve the Bennington community. It is a great honor, and it was a great honor to serve with all of you folks. And I really thank Chris for his leadership. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated that. As most of you know, I've been a town administrator for 20 plus years, and it was working for a board. It was an interesting change to become a board member and work with administrators and the faculty, staff, and principals. And I just have to say, I am just so impressed at the professionalism, the skill, the knowledge of throughout the school system. I want to give a special shout out because I work, as a board member, you work a lot with administrators. I want to give a special kudos and a shout out to central office. I really was, again, impressed by the leadership shown by Jim Culkeen and the great team that he's built. The top administrators, Laura and Nick and Renee, very, very impressive. And this school system is well served by that team that Jim has put together. Thank you, Jim, for that.
Thank you.
It's a
It is a
mark
great
of
team.
of your leadership. So with that, I feel confident that our school system is in good hands. And I wish Chayla and Chris all the luck as you continue to lead. So thank you.
Sure.
So I had a few thoughts, and the first one was that I've been on this board on and off since 2009. When I got on this board, initially I was pregnant with my second child, and he is now rounding out 4th grade and heading into 5th grade, and my daughter is now in middle school. And it has been an insightful and rewarding experience to be on the inside, to be on the outside as a taxpayer and as a community member, and then to be on the inside and to see the dedication and hard work of the teachers and to see the nuts and bolts of how this whole machine comes together. And even with its flaws, which everything is going to have, it has some amazing pieces that are keeping it running and turning out some really wonderful students, and the staff that makes it happen is just, it's amazing to see. I'm looking forward to seeing the new merge board working together for the good of the children, obviously. And I think one of the best things that I hope to see come from this new board is to see the community come together as a whole and to see all of these different towns push together and have to start sitting at the table more and discussing things more. And I think it'll get people to start working together a bit more and not be so divided. My family's had an amazing run in this district. I'm really sad to see my children's time come to an end at the elementary level and to start having it in the rearview mirror and heading into Mount Anthony, but I'm hopefully looking to serve again in the future, and I really good luck. I think it's going to be interesting getting it up and running. Enjoy.
Yes.
And that's it. That's all I got.
So what I can say is ditto to everybody else's ditto. But most importantly, I think we've accomplished a lot as a board, particularly when you see this paper called Project Savings, where we took a deep breath and and made that leap of faith and decided that this is how we could save money for the school district, and we did. I mean, that was incredible, an incredible amount of money. I too look forward to the following years when all the boards have merged and there's some semblance of organization and great leadership, both on the part of the administration of schools and Mr. Culkane, and we've had a tremendous run. And I appreciate the confidence that everybody has put in us. Thank you very much.
With that, we move to our FYI. We have the student enrollment data, the budget status report, and a copy of the immunization letter that had been sent. And with that, could I have you? What's that?
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, she's.
Oh, that's right. All right. I understand now.
So could I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Vic. Could I have a second? Thank you, Mary. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning this meeting in the BSD, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Great working with all of you guys too.